Issuance of Section 118 certificates. Conveyancing firms successfully also lodge with the pairing of the latter and this current one. If you don't have those, you cannot proceed. And you cannot also proceed without rates clearances. And then the issuance of Section 113s are basically your rates clearance certificates, where it confirms that services have been installed according to the conditions of establishment of whichever township. So here it basically enables your title deeds registration. Again, the deeds office cannot register without Section 113s. The role of the department, like we indicated, from inputs that would be varied from different municipalities, would then consolidate and develop an annual business plan, the title deeds business plan, and then submit to the National Department of Human Settlements for funding, and with the list of townships where those will be coming from as part of the annexures. And then we would have to conduct fiscal verification, determine the status of occupants and identified properties for transfers. Only occupants with approved housing subsidies can be considered for transfer of ownership of such properties that we deal with. Like I indicated, there could be variations through council resolutions and other. Provide interventions where required, like uplifting interdicts or caveats imposed by respective municipalities or municipal-owned entities where they are landowners, but in the instance in instances where the province owns, you would find that there are also caveats that the province would have imposed. So those are easier when they're in our control, but if it's properties that are owned by the municipality, then same, would have to be lifted by the owner. So this unlocks challenges to enable title deeds registration to the rightful beneficiaries. I think I did make citations of the Act 70 of 1970 in terms of subdivision, so I will not repeat that one. On title deeds registration, it is a benefit for municipalities because then they are able to generate a revenue once a title deed has been registered. So all liabilities that are borne once you've got a title deed are therefore borne by the owner. Facilitating intergovernmental liaison to ensure a smooth registration process. This basically enables, again, escalating blockages and fast-tracking processes towards title deeds registration. So that's why we meet with the municipalities, facilitated by our MEC, our HOD, for technical ones are done by the HOD, but that is regular to unlock blockages, and presentations are done by respective officials on matters or sore points that need to be unblocked. So these are, in summary, challenges that we meet. Delays in the issuance of powers of attorneys and Section 118 certificates, which in the mains, in some municipalities, it really takes long. And these are the reasons that may have triggered from reports that we provide, because these are basically the bone of contention. And then there's also, in terms of intervention, we did sign MOUs with the municipalities that were signed by our accounting officer and municipal human settlements executives, stating that at least, at most, it needs to be 20 days turnaround time for the sign off of same. But not just observing that 20 days just for compliance. It can be done earlier, in essence. So it's the municipalities that are responsible, and then also the delays in issuance of Section 113's certificates where services were installed, MEC, MMC, IGRs, where these challenges are also articulated, like I've indicated, but also the technical ones that are chaired by the accounting officer. And then in some cases, townships deemed proclaimed, you find that there's township milestones that are pending. You find that the issuance of the Section 113 is not there. Now you will not register, even if it's proclaimed. So those are issues that we pay attention to in terms of undertaking due diligence to check if those are there, because it then becomes a deterrent at the time of registration. Yeah, so in essence, no township with outstanding milestones could enable same. Let me end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MEC. I don't know if there's any additions before we allow the City of Tshwane.
No, Chair, there's none from our side, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. City of Tshwane, are you ready? And I hope you had been noting the challenges that department is currently facing. So you'll have a courtesy of also trying to cover those, so that at least after this engagement, yeah, so that after this engagement, we will have some kind of a way forward. Because the issue of title deeds it's a burning issue in our communities. Every time we go to our communities, they raise this issue very sharply. So we hope that we'll find a solution today. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, colleagues, and thanks for your team for helping us with the presentation. It has been sent to them, and we're just trying to connect. If you'll just give us a second. However, our presentation will cover both the title deeds aspect as well as the township establishment aspect. I will start with the title deeds issues, and I will hand over to my colleague Batandwa to deal with the township proclamation issues once that's done. Thanks very much. We can go to slide number 3 with the outline of the presentation, so we'll just start on slide number 3. As requested, we'll be briefing the committee on the progress and role of the city in terms of township proclamations, as well as our title deeds issuance around that. The key points we would like to raise are that many of our established townships remain unproclaimed, and this really limits the integration into our municipal systems, as well as causes major challenges that affect our development control, as well as revenue collection and tenure security, as the previous speaker has raised. The city, in partnership with province, is working on trying to deal with the issues, and there are some interventions that are being addressed to deal with our backlog. The next slide, our statistics as a city are looking very good. As you can see, the column, the first column on the township, the titles registered, we have since 2021 8,280, and we have received 6,904 and issued 10,000, which means that we've really issued as well from our backlog, which is an amazing accomplishment given the work that we are involved with. The major issue that we're having at the moment, as you can see, our registrations are in 2021-22, it was quite a good year, and since then we haven't even been able to get to half that because of the issues that we have raised previously. We can go to the next slide. So as I've said, the title deeds registration is really our major concern at this stage, in that the process needs to be expedited, and we really need to find ways to overcome the challenges that we are facing at the moment. Our target for the 24-5 financial year is 2,500. We've only reached 1,196 this year, so we're really already running late with that and need to just find a way to deal with that more effectively. Our backlog is sitting at 5,924 as of 31st of October 2025, which is really a major accomplishment, given that in 2022, we had 11,125. So we've made a major accomplishment around that. Our title deeds issuance in the city includes our houses from the apartheid era, so our second directive properties. That portfolio is moving extremely slow, but some of the others we are moving faster, and we would really like to try and find a way to wrap up our legacy projects. There's various processes that delay the issuing of title deeds. Firstly, including processes in the municipality. DDG spoke about that in terms of our section 118s and 113s and the rest. And as well as issues around the Surveyor General, the deeds register, we're getting more and more pushback from them. We're not really sure why. We were trying to have a meeting with them, with province as well, to try and find ways to sort that out. Our new Easterus project, I think they've had the title deeds for at least 8 months now, and there's issues around that. So again around appointment for specific projects, as well as when there's a change over, that we're finding that conveyances are not handing back documents, and therefore we need to restart the process, and that's taking some time. But as I said, we've really made inroads. We're only at 5,924 from over 11,000, and so there really has been a push from our officials to work over weekends, to work in the evenings and public holidays, to try and ensure that people do get their title deeds, and that we do find people who are not willing to come forward. So we actually are going to the houses, and this does make a big difference with our title deeds as well. In terms, we can go to the next one, in terms of our challenges. As DDG again has said, the town planning issues are a major concern. The city has numerous townships that are unproclaimed or require some type of finalization. So for instance, we see that a township has half the title deeds that have been registered and the other half haven't, mostly because of the change of legislation, and we're trying to find ways to overcome this. Some of these are old areas such as Mabopane, Garankua, and other areas as well. Some of our title deeds remain uncollected because of unresolved estates, so when we go out, we make sure to take the estate letters and check on that, and make sure that there is that people know what the process is, and make sure that they have a reference letter as well. There's numerous illegal sales. People think that, like I don't know, sweets, you can just give someone the money and they give you the property. We've realized that as soon as you give the money, they refuse to move out, or the person in the property then doesn't move, or they can't get the transfer because they then lose touch with the person that has sold them the property, and then there can't be a change of title deed. So there's numerous problems around issues of illegal sales. We also have untraceable beneficiaries, so they've gone in, moved out for some reason, and then it's extremely difficult to find them. The municipality has spent literally millions on trying to, via various media platforms, put these names out so that people can come forward, but there was just very, very little traction on that as well. There's also informal family substitutions as well as disputes within families that we're just finding extremely difficult to deal with, even with our dispute resolution committee. And then some people are just really unconcerned in terms of collecting their title deeds, and then when they get, when they realize when they're in their 60s or 70s, then they want to collect it. And we just find that there's more and more people who just aren't aware of that. What we are doing is making sure that we educate people as much as possible around that. So we have a pilot project that we've undertaken in New Eersteris to test the city's capability. This has worked very well, and the city will be trying to identify funds to start with other projects as well. Although this was an old township, it was very, very difficult due to lack of services, change of legislation, and just expectations. It's taken much longer. I think we thought it would take 3 years in the beginning. It's taken us about 6 years to do the work. So we've really learned quite a bit from that. As I said, the team is really constantly issuing calling letters, doing house calls, making sure that they go and just alert people when their title deeds are ready, or issue their title deeds as much as possible. We also have public and political events. We've been extremely lucky. We've had some events with Minister, we've had some events with the MMC as well, the MEC as well, and we continue to do that with our MMC as well. We have continuous consumer education on the importance of a title deed, and whenever we issue our title deeds, we make sure that everyone has the leaflet to inform them of the importance of a title deed, and we make sure that there is some consumer education at all our events in the city as well. And then we also issue referral letters to the Master of the High Court for the resolution of estates, in the hope that people will resolve those and we will be able to issue the title deeds to them. I think, our plan of action is that we're doing occupancy surveys and house-to-house visits for properties with uncollected title deeds. We continuously do this in various areas through our regional office. We've also categorized our uncollected title deeds according to our occupancy survey, so we know what's illegal sales, we know what's estate matters, we know what's just problems, family disputes and things like that. So we've been able to do that, so we have a better understanding of what's happening with our title deeds. We also in the process of implementing the Gauteng regularization strategy, where properties have not yet been registered, and hoping that that will bear some fruit soon. I think, so that's the end of the title deeds issues. I'm going to hand over to Batandwa to continue with the township registration issues. Thanks.
Hello? Okay. Thanks, Petal. I'd just like to check if the presentation was consolidated and joined. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I am Nomathemba Mokgethi again. just gotten used to the habit of when you get on a microphone, you always introduce yourself. I'm Batsando Kumete, City of Tshwane. I'm in the Planning and Policy Department. I've been there for a short while, and I kind of have been given the responsibility to look into these old townships that have not been proclaimed, simply for the reason that if these townships remain unproclaimed, then ultimately title deeds cannot be issued. I guess that's the real... Oh, sorry. I guess that's the real reason why this township establishments or unproclaimed townships work sits with my department. So we prepared a short presentation, and with the presentation, I guess what's most important is to give you a status update of the work that we are doing in collaboration with our colleagues in Province Human Settlements. I would like to not present this slide, so if the person who's controlling the slides can just move on to the next one. So this slide kind of speaks to what is the role of the municipality regarding township proclamations. And in the screen there, what we're showing is the responsibilities as far as human settlements is concerned. And as we were preparing this presentation, I did ask a question to my colleagues in my department, and the question was, if we are being asked to present what the role of the municipality is with regards to township establishments, is the land use planning departments in our municipality also preparing this presentation? Because I think they play a far more significant role than we do as far as the approval of processes and getting the packaging of townships to the next level. It's not necessarily us who have control or authority over that. And I'm not sure if Petal, our Spluma land use department, is with us here today. When we were doing introductions, I didn't see them because I think they are far more significant for this specific topic than we are. So, but I'll continue. My department, Human Settlements, our core function specific to this task, I guess it's to, can't see, it's to lead. We're trying to lead and coordinate the Township Proclamation Program. We're calling it a program in my department, in partnership with the province. As well as the service providers that the province has currently appointed, who are doing some work on trying to get these unproclaimed townships proclaimed. The only reason we're saying we are providing coordinating support to province-appointed service providers is because at this stage we have not appointed our own service providers to take some of these townships through. We are currently in a process where we are sort of consolidating a list of all unproclaimed townships in the municipality and just trying to do a verification process of each one of these different townships so that we can have a very clear understanding of what, firstly, is the process to get townships proclaimed, and secondly, to be able to identify where are the gaps with all of these different townships. So we've done some significant work around that, and we're busy consulting internally in the municipality. And then I guess the intention is that once that internal process has happened, and we're quite certain that the database of townships that are unproclaimed that we are looking at has been cleaned, then from there, what we would like to do is to identify 5 or 6 townships that we would like to pilot to take forward. And the reason we want to pilot the townships is because we kind of want to take these townships and ask for a special dispensation within our own Spluma bylaw to be able to fast track these townships. So once we are done with the database, then we ourselves are gonna appoint service providers as well to do some of the work. So then there'll be 2 parallel processes where there's province, who's already running with some townships, and then there'll be townships that we'll be running internally in the municipality. Point number 2 there, to develop and maintain a township formalization database. That's what I've just spoken to. That database is available and we can share it with yourselves. To get the database where at the level where it's at right now has taken us quite a long time, because what we are trying to do, as I mentioned earlier, is that we are identifying the different milestones that are still missing with the townships, particularly around the servicing of these townships. Are the roads in place? Is stormwater in place? Is electricity in place? And is sanitation in place? And then what we are doing as well is we have gone into the archives of the municipalities to try and find these certificates, these Section 118 and these Section 1110 certificates, and then we're trying to link the existing certificates with the township database that we have. I must say that we have been able to find some of the certificates, and a significant number of these certificates, we haven't been able to find them, which in itself is problematic, because if they are not there, it's very likely that the service departments within the municipality are going to be rigid and say, unfortunately, we are unable to issue you with the HAPI certificates for roads and stormwater because these certificates are not there. And then they may say, you have to get engineers to go and do an assessment of the infrastructure that's already there so that we can be able to reissue you with the certificates. So for the certificates that are not there, it might be problematic going forward. So as I said, that we are collaborating with the province, Department of Human Settlements. There's a guy, Simon, who's running with this project on his side. We have been assisting him with getting him in contact with the right people within the different service departments in the municipality, so that they can communicate more freely, as well as so that the service providers that he has appointed are able to go directly to the right people in the different departments of the municipality to try to work through some of these issues. Okay, I've said all of that. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Slide operator, if we can. Thank you. There's one back, please, I think. Okay, go forward. Okay, I think there's a slide missing, but it's fine. Maybe it's going to come after. But the slide that I wanted to refer to is that in my previous input, I was mentioning the role that human settlements plays. And then I prefaced that by saying that a significant part of getting these townships formalized and approved sits with the land use planning and spatial planning departments. So on the next slide, which may be missing or is going to come later, we were just describing in general terms the process that is the responsibility of the land use planning departments within our municipality, and we try to make a link between that and the work that we do. But on this slide, just to take you through it quickly, I guess it's the progress to date, and as I said earlier, we've only been doing this for the last 4 months. It's not to say this work only started in the last 4 months. I understand this work is very old, but there was a very long period where we as a municipality were not running with it, but now we are. So what we've done so far is the database, we've created that. We've been able to identify over 100 plus townships that have milestones that are outstanding. So the formalization of these of over 100 townships has not been completed yet. The database, as I said, it has information around the backlog when it comes to title deeds issuing, and in the database as well, we also have columns that show whether the township has a SG diagram that's approved or not. If it was approved, when was it approved? If it wasn't approved, why was it not approved? And then it identifies the different certificates that should be in place. And it also shows where the certificates gaps are. So that's available and we can share it. And then what we have done as well after building the township, or in parallel with building the database, we've been engaging with the Departments of Human Settlements in province. We've already had 3 or 4 meetings already with the province. The first meeting we had was to align ourselves for us to say, these are the townships we're looking at, and then for us to understand what townships or province is looking at, and then we've consolidated those 2 lists. And then the next meeting that we had with the province, we actually met with the service provider that's appointed by province. And in that meeting with the service provider, it was fruitful because apparently, it's not apparently, what we came to learn is that they had been appointed to do this work, but they found themselves stuck for a long time just simply because they didn't know who to contact within the municipality. And we were able to provide, I'm gonna call it a register of all the different departments that have a role to play in the completion of the formalization process, as well as the contact numbers and the emails. And then we've also facilitated a meeting between the service provider and the different officials in the different service departments. Maybe what is significant that has come out of the process that I'm mentioning is that in some of the townships, what was outstanding as one of the issues that need to be dealt with was the engineering reports were not in place. Also, that the municipality asked our province to have engineering reports in place. So we have been able to assist the service provider, which is called EN Sync Engineers, to compile these engineering reports that have been submitted to water and sanitation within the municipality. So that work is underway. What we came to learn is that there are certain townships that province has prioritized, and what I've provided there is a list of the townships that province is prioritizing. From what we've seen is that they are looking to formalize townships that are in Soshanguve, in Block GG, HH, JJ, PR, and so on. I'm not going to read all of them, Chair, but see, those are the townships that province seems to be prioritizing, as well as the Nkangala townships. With the Nkangala townships, some of the issues that we are identifying, and information which is new to myself as well, is that some of these townships are so old that they were built or they were established, inverted commas, before Utswane became as big as it is and sort of subsumed the other municipalities. So some of the information for the Nkangala townships is not sitting necessarily with the city of Tshwane. I'm told that it's sitting with, I can't remember, Petzl, what the municipality was that Nkangala was. Sorry? Yes, Mpumalanga. So some of this information, I'm gonna say it's lost because it doesn't sit with the municipality. So if we are trying to undertake a process where we want to take stock of the information that we have, so that we can see where the gaps are and have a plan to move forward, we will be unable to find information for Nkangala because it just very well may not be there. And the fear that we have, and this fear comes from conversations that some of my colleagues in my departments have had with our colleagues from planning and land use management. What they're saying is that if some of these certificates are not in place, the process of township establishments will have to be restarted, and there's a cost to that. The cost is quite significant. Yeah, so province is prioritizing Nkangala, as well as I've heard, not that I've heard, but they are also discussing Ritsabiseng, Olivine, and in Soshanguve R. And then on the last bullet points in this slide, townships prioritized by the city, up to now, with the work that we are currently doing, we don't necessarily have townships that we have prioritized as of yet. And the reason for that is because we're still trying to build this database. And we're not building this database just for the sake of a database. It's because we need to have a decent understanding of the baseline information so that we can be able to devise a plan to take it forward. So this is work that's underway. And as I said before, when we do find a number of townships that we want to prioritize, the plan is to take them and pilot them by means of asking for leniency with spluma or a special dispensation in the municipality, because we do think it's very important that there is a dispensation that deals specifically with publicly driven human settlements projects, because at the moment, spluma, how it's written, I've heard, yes, it's a decent document, but see how it's written, it does not. Well, maybe I'm not talking about Spluma, I'm talking about our own bylaw in the municipality, which is built on Spluma. How it's written at the moment, it doesn't differentiate, it doesn't distinguish between a privately led residential development and a publicly driven residential development. It's written as if everything is private. And if it does that, it also means it's silent to the fact that in our human settlements development processes, the process is also dependent on municipality and the province and via the MMCs. Yeah, so that report is going through, and if you guys can help us to support it, that we would be very grateful. And then in conclusion, the city plays a critical role in coordinating and enabling the roles in the township proclamation process and title deed issuing. And I guess the last point there is just speaks to what I've already said, that we would like to have a special exemption. If you guys can help us with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Thanks very much to the City of Tshwane. We're just checking if perhaps Ikuruleni is here, perhaps outside. But what we... Sorry? Remember? It's fine. Okay. So what we want to do is to start the engagement based on the presentation we've received from Tshwane. We would have already received the presentation from the department and the opening remarks from the MEC as well. So let me open up to members based on the presentations that we've had. So let's start here and go around. Is that all right? We'll just go around because everybody's hands are up.
Thank you.
Let's go this way.
You want to debate that? Thank you so much, and we welcome the presentation, but I have few questions, and because of, let me get the name correct, Patel. Thank you. In your slides, you mentioned houses that were affected by apartheid. And in Tshwane, we are actually suffering from that. Houses from Mabopane, which is Harangwa, as well as Mawika, those northwest housing. How are you then going to resolve it? How far are you with that? Because I'm saying this because of 2017, we managed to issue title deed with the former mayor, Solim Simang. I was part of the processes, and it was a bad experience but a good at the end. Because we only managed to issue 15 title deeds because of those issues with the old bank, net bank, and so forth and so forth. So I want to know, my heart is on this.
It is mentioned as a pilot project in the new Easterus area, but there are no metrics currently being shown or available of what is the success that we've accomplished so far. Yes, you've mentioned that the MEC has been involved, the MMCs has been involved, the department. Yes, it was just visitations and oversights that has taken part. So what is the scalable, replicable model that will be implemented, seeing that this will be the pilot? And then lastly, if you look on slide 13, the resource constraint admissions. It says there, on slide 13, admits to the limited human resources and funding. However, the presentation does not make compelling case study why this should be a budget priority rather than an internal pre-prioritization happening. Thank you.
Thanks, Member Abrams. Member Mokgethi.
No, thanks, Chair. I have been covered in part by my colleagues. I just want to make a sweeping statement that wants to at least appreciate, especially in the last slide that you presented, where you sort of came up with evidence of the fact that you followed through the processes and this is what you would want to achieve. And I think what comes out clear here is the fact that there needs to be a much closer collaboration between the local sphere and the provincial sphere in terms of resolving some of these problems, because even if we want to reluctantly accept that fact, but it remains a fact that some of these problems are actually historical problems, you know, and they are not a straightforward issue, but they've got some degree of complexity with regards to planning and as well as locating of some of these functions, you know. And I think when the province made presentations in the past, we did not have the appreciation of the complexity of these matters that we are faced with. And now, with the benefit of the information, I think we shall be monitoring very closely the efforts that are going to be put in place in making sure that these matters are being resolved. But there has to be a need also where, case by case, we try and expedite the processes so that we don't get ourselves stuck on the issue of historical reasons, but let there be an effort to move, you know, case by case to a point where we can say we have now achieved a certain degree of resolving these matters. Thank you, Chair.
Member Du Plessis. For microphone.
Is it on now? Thank you. Okay, I just want to, you know, what we quite often find in government is that the devil lies in the detail. So I just want to get from the first presentation, you mentioned that you do physical verification. How many people have we got to do physical verification? Because according to me, physical verification, if you're looking at the numbers that we are looking at, you know that there is some task. So if we could just get a rough estimate on that. And then how many legal firms have been appointed to help with this? And then on the intergovernmental liaisons, it was mentioned 20 days. Are we sticking to that? Are we still having problems with that? And then on the Tshwane presentation, can I please just ask, okay, that one's fine. You said there's a problem with the title deed registration, but you never mentioned what the problem is. Can we just get that? Then you mentioned 100+ townships. Is there, so I take it it's not informal settlements, it's just townships. Can we just get a broader description on that? And then I want to agree with my colleagues here that, you know, if you look at the challenges that I think one of the major challenges is the IGR, is the liaison between municipal, provincial, national governments, and that we need to come to a point that we address that in a sense that it works, you know, that on the 20 presentation, the last bit, you know, it was said, but we're waiting for this guy to talk to this guy, and maybe he should be seeing this guy, and we're not sure, you know, but that is problematic, you know. Either we must fine tune or we must find a better way. But thank you, Chair. That's all from me.
And Mr. Rota?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just to go back a step. For 30 years, since 94, we've been waiting to provide our citizens with title. So title is fundamental to ownership, to human dignity. And that's been a fundamental part of where we've been pushing for our residents to become capacitated. When I see, and I'm moving around a bit to focus on areas here, 100+ townships that have been unproclaimed. And as we know, we cannot give title until they are proclaimed. I don't think we even know how many townships there are. So where does the finger get pointed? Is it historical? Is it the Department of Human Settlements? Is it the City of Tshwane? Is it the other metros? Because what I'm hearing, and I thank the honesty of the presentation, but we're in a mess. I can't think of a better word. We don't have a solution to deal with this problem. And I agree it's a difficult problem because there are a number of processes that have to happen, and there have got to be a number of role players in order for it to succeed. But if I said, give us some indication of how many townships will be proclaimed in the next 5 years, how many townships have been proclaimed in the last 5 years, how many title deeds are outstanding, how many undelivered title deeds will be delivered, what processes are taking place, what is the cooperation between the Gauteng Department of Human Settlements and the City of Tshwane? What steps have been put in place? Do we have timelines? Do we have a monitoring process? I'm not hearing any of these things. And until we get some kind of structure, Chair, we can't succeed. And this is a huge, huge problem. It's far worse than I would have imagined. And I don't know what the answer is because I'm not in the department, but I would hope that we have a plan, an implementable plan with timelines, a monitoring process, so somehow we can get to the bottom of this. Otherwise, it's simply going to get worse, and we're going to be in a worse situation down the line. I could talk for an hour on what's been said this morning. It's tragic. It's a very sad reality. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
Member Gentile?
No, thanks, Chair. Indeed, I want to build on the question of complexity and historic issues that I think are carried around these challenges. But Chair, I want to speak to the demarcation particularly because the last presenter would have spoken to Mpumalanga, but also the Northwest, which would have been demarcated into Gauteng, some of these old historic townships. But also there's a mention that even before there was a proper, constituted municipality, to say in the terms. It's very difficult to get information around where to relocate these townships. But of course, they're in Tshwane, I'm assuming, but I don't get that there is a sense of ownership to say because the last presenter would have spoken around, it's quite very difficult to also get proper information around the ownership, particularly of individuals. I'm worried of the historic issues that Member Mahlabe you would have spoken to, because over 100 years, I'm thinking, if these townships were existent, it means that ownership must have changed from over time. So it could also be very complex in terms of tracing. What are, systems put in place? Because I just, Chair, get a sense of just challenges without systems put in place of proper tracking, systematic proper tracking, so that we don't only, because I know the demarcations themselves come with a lot of problems, particularly those from Northwest and the Mpumalanga, but over time to have a proper, tracking system that would then assist us in really identifying the real owners of these, because it then assists with the issuing of title deeds, and I think the proclamation process would take its own course. But my issue is you proclaim, but you then struggle with the issue of ownership over time. So if we can just get, if there are any systematic or rather tracking interventions in place in relation, and also if we can get a sense of, in relation to the demarcation, because Chair, there would be other challenges, and I think service delivery challenges, and they may not be necessary for this meeting. How many how many townships, the historic townships to say, are then affected? I hear you mention Nkangala, and I'm assuming there would be Mawika, there'd be other areas as well in Tshwane, but how many specifically, so that we know what we're looking at? It also speaks to the issue of planning that I think Member Sorota was speaking to, of what are we looking at in terms of the next 5 years, because it may not be the proclamation, but it would then be the plan in terms of just properly recognizing these particular townships. But also for me, if you can also speak to you, I think it's critically important. You know, Chair, we received a petition from one area as the committee, and I know you may not be housing related. It's more service delivery.
A title deed. So I just wanted to check if that is also common, because you also spoke about places of worship, and that is, I think that triggered my mind as a problem that we normally face when we go and engage with our communities. I think those are the two main ones for me. I will hear when the department respond that maybe others are not covered. Thank you, Chair.
Maybe let me just raise one or two things quickly as well. I think I've been covered on some, but I think the first question I'd want to ask, well, let me just go back a step. So when I was in the political office in 2019, 2020, one became aware of how complex the issue of title deeds and township proclamation was. And at that stage, there was a huge amount of focus that was put on to trying to sort out the bottlenecks and the backlogs, etc. And I'm just wondering, you know, whether we've seen significant, I'm now asking the department probably through the MEC, but have we really seen much progress since then? And then when you listen to the city of Tshwane, you realize the problem is even bigger. And I must say, unfortunately, I thought Tshwane was trying to throw the ball back at the department a bit, in a way. And the reality is, I went back then to look at the presentation of the department, which spells out very clearly what's the role of municipalities, what's the role of departments. But when you look at it, it's not isolated roles. It's a case of collaboration and working together. So I think my question really, and then I've got one other one I'd want to ask, but probably really directed to the MEC, is do we have a dedicated full-time team whose sole focus is on dealing with this whole issue of township proclamation, the backlogs, the title deeds, etc. But is there such a team in place that also includes the municipalities? Because I mean, I might be speaking out of turn here, but I don't know, is there sufficient focus being placed? And so I just wanted to find out, is there that team? If there isn't, would consideration be given to putting a full-time team that has participation from the various municipalities as well? Because I suspect that there are a lot of beneficiaries that are waiting for their title deed, and it might take a long, long time for some of them to get their title deed. So that's the one question: is there such a team? Because you probably do need a full-time team whose sole focus every day is sorting out these issues. And one is very worried about this 100 townships in Tshwane that have not been proclaimed, if I heard them correctly. That's worrying, I must say. And equally, the issue, the areas such as Ikangala, where they say there's information that's gone, that's equally worrying, and it shows how complex the problem is and the need for this dedicated focus. I think my last question really that I would want to ask is whether we can get to a place that when a beneficiary receives their house through a government program, how can we get to a place where if it's not the same day, gets handed over. So I think, members, those are the questions that we've taken. I wonder whether we shouldn't allow Tshwane to respond, then I can hand over to the MEC. Would you be okay with that, MEC? Member More, I think you were out.
No, I came back and I realized that you probably don't
Take your
see my
questions.
hand. So I was going to ask in the House, but thank you very much for the opportunity. To the department, You mentioned that Tshwane and Johannesburg have actually submitted and not Ekurhuleni. So I'm not sure, don't you give deadlines to council for them to adhere? And what are you going to do about that issue? Because I think if we don't hold each other accountable when it comes to such, then we'll forever be coming to these meetings and talking about the same things over and over. And then according to the department, there's 3 challenges that you have. The power of attorney by the municipalities, the section 113 and 118, which is your rates and your service certificate. But when I listen to Tshwane, if you check slide 5 of 15 of Tshwane, it actually talks to, it says the title deed registration is a major concern and the process must be expedited by the Gauteng Department of Human Settlement. So like Honorable Greg is saying, it's like passing the buck from each other. And then you say urgent intervention, Tshwane, is required. What exactly are you going to do to ensure that the difference between the 2.5 and the 1196 is actually achieved? The other question is, if you check your slide 6 of 15, the 3rd bullet, you say you managed to reduce this backlog from 11,125 to almost what, 50%? What exactly did you do, you know, because we then, it will be interesting for other municipalities to learn from you, whatever that you've done, so that we facilitate these backlogs. And I also want to go back to slide 5, when you said the department must expedite the process. Which process or what process exactly need to be expedited by the department that will enable you to do whatever that you need to do? But in a nutshell, and the MOU department, when was this MOU signed? You had 20-day turnaround. When was it signed, and did you guys see any difference after that? I think the other questions I will not repeat because the other members have spoken to the issuance. Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Okay. So as I want to hand over to Tshwane, and I'll tell you why. Some of the Ekurhuleni team are here. Some are on their way. But Member Abrams, you want to ask something short, and then we hand over to Tshwane, and then from there we'll hand over to the MEC and the department.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I'll be quick. Just 2 last questions. The unclear prioritization, the city speaks about the 5 elected, or there will be 5 elected townships. But currently we are dealing with, there's a backlog of about 100, right? So there's no explanation on how these 5 will be chosen, but yet we are forgetting about the other 95. If I can just get clarity on that. Then on slide 8 and 13, the unqualifiers. The plan is to deal with the non-qualifying beneficiaries. Is the single most politically and socially charged challenge. The presentation is very vague for me around that, on the strategy. There's no actual strategy. And the issue could lead to a widespread eviction and social unrest, which we are currently seeing. So if we can get a little bit more clarity on slide 8 and 13 as well. Thank you, Chair.
Let me hand over to the team from Tshwane. Try and be brief to the point, and then we'll hand over to the MEC after that.
I was
Thanks.
just about to say it's going to take a long, long time to get through these. So we'll try our best to do what we can with the questions. I'm going to ask my colleague Beta Nokeri to deal with the Mawiga issues. Mawiga and Mega, I don't know. I have no words at the moment to describe these. There's been many task teams. The president at one stage intervened, and we still find ourselves back in square one. So for the Mawiga project, at least in terms of the title deeds, some aspects of it are being dealt with by the minister through a special intervention. to try and unlock some of these, but yeah, I'm not sure that has much success as well. There's various task teams at both provincial and national level through COGDA, through Human Settlements, and now even the Premier's office to try and set up task teams to assist with some of the issues. I'm not sure even with that if there's been much traction around it. The two, the city and both Mpumalanga or Mega and Northwest Housing Corporation are at the moment caught up in some legal battles around sale of land, around non-payment of services, around all sorts of things in terms of the constitutional amendment and how that constitutional amendment is being dealt with by all the parties concerned. So the issue of Mega and Mawega at this moment is very, very difficult to deal with. We're hoping that now that the Premier is involved, that we can see some traction on these matters. And we're hoping that especially for service delivery issues, that those can be dealt with the task teams, because some of the basic matters have been raised. There's also a task team that's been led by the MEC for DID on some of the issues, I think, around Mabopane as well. So there's a whole lot of interventions that are taking place, but we'll speak about the basics of what we are trying to do to assist with that. The other houses affected by apartheid matters are around places like Volma and Yaniman Park and that. A lot of the issues are around the change of legislation and just the expectations now by the city with Spluma and how we can deal with that. But for instance, with the Volma, there's some land, for instance, that's in the city's name, and some even in Ekurhuleni's name. We don't know why. So we're really dealing with a lot of challenges that we're trying to find ways to overcome. Provinces now assisted us with a conveyancer for that matter, and we are dealing with that. Unfortunately, both more the Mawega than the Mega, but this has led to a lot of illegal sales of people's properties, where there have been unscrupulous officials and conveyancers that have got together and sold people's properties, and we are dealing with quite a few through the public protector as well as other processes as well. Unfortunately, only when we become available can we deal with this, because that's the only time people come forward to report them. So we do deal with them on a case-to-case process. In terms of the verifications, yes, what capacity do we have? We have 7 regions, and each of the regions, some of the regions, of course, are bigger, so we have more regional offices, but we have about 13 regional offices, so people in that region will assist with the verification. Over weekends and that we get people from head office to also go, and when there's a big project we get the whole team that's from head office, from the various regions to go in and assist, mostly over weekends. As you know, we also very busy during the week, so to just make sure that those verifications are done. So we are doing what we can with them. When province is dealing with a project, they also appoint a PRT who then we work with to make sure those verifications are done. So we do try and make sure that there is capacity to get issues solved, and that we deal with them in a more coordinated way. Yes, we are aware through public protector and other PAIA and all the rest that there are some unresolved issues that are really taking long. For instance, there's one group of petitioners that we've been involved with the Mawega properties whose homes were illegally sold, who cannot get title deeds for various issues. And we've been dealing with that since 2017, 2018. And I think of all those 5, I think 3 of them have been sorted and 2 of them we're really still struggling with. So yes, we are aware, but we do try, I think, with ourselves and province, and where national can assist as well, to do what we can to deal with those cases that are presented to us. We are aware that some title deeds are issued to people other than the owner, and this is in most cases where we do not check the occupant of the house against the HSS. So someone has a subsidy approved on the HSS, but we get there, the person convinces us for whatever reason that they are the owner of the property or they've been allocated, and then the title deed gets registered in that person's name, and months, years later, we then find out that that was the incorrect allocation made, and that the title deed is in someone else's name. We're dealing with quite a few of those matters as well. The problem is with the title deed, because it's a legal document, we cannot just change from my name to your name. It's a whole legal process, and if I don't sign over, then there's problems. Then we cannot get the title deed changed. In one case, the family, the mother, the owners of the house agreed to sign. Unfortunately, when we got back, they had passed on, and now the children have 2 houses, and they're refusing to sign over the one to the person that's in that home. So we have various challenges with that, and we do deal with them as best we can when they arise. Yes, there's always been a problem with this in the city for budget for proclamations. The budget sits with province, or province assists the city with proclamations. I think for this financial year, and I stand to be corrected, there's about 7 projects, maybe a bit more, that are being dealt with, and then we're dealing with 5 or 6. So yes, in terms of the 100, that is a big difference, but because of the backlog, it's extremely difficult to deal with these. How do we decide what projects to deal with? We try to deal with those first that we can get quick wins from. So if most of the service certificates are available and we're waiting for one certificate, then we'll try and get that one to expedite, or we've just had a backup with our legal department for certificates. We'll try and follow up with that. So we really try to deal with those where we can. We also try to deal with those where there's large numbers of title deeds that are locked in these projects, and try to deal with those as best we can. I think in terms of we've all spoken about the issue of registration. So although registration sounds easy, you go to the deeds office, you register, but it's all those pre-processes that are difficult. As we've spoken about, as province has spoken about, it's all those pre-proclamation issues that are difficult. So it's those issues then hold up the process. In terms of the title deed statistics, what we've given you is from 21. So of course, even prior to 21, there were old title deeds. So if there were, 3,000-4,000, maybe more, when we count the title deeds now from 21, we would count those old ones as well. And therefore, that's how we are able from year to year issue more than we have, because we're finding people are coming through the interventions we have on door-to-doors, and consumer education are beginning to find some ground, and we're able to then issue that. So it's also those pre-94, the pre-2001 that we've counted as well. The issue of underperformance on registrations, I think, as I say, it's really, although we have tried to, as carefully as possible, determine what the KPIs are, The reason we're running late, low on those, the 1,196, yes, it's less than half, but we're into the second quarter, so it seems like it's going quite well. We know that December and January are dead months, so we need to make a bit up before we get to the end of the second quarter. But yeah, although there are some issues around that, I think we are moving as best we can on that. Yeah, I think in terms of slide 5, as I've said, that's the reality is that the title deeds grant is with province, and we therefore need to work much more closer with them to ensure that our title deeds are registered. The registration processes do take long. From our side, the signing of the POAs, the verifications first, and then the signing of the POAs needs to be expedited, and we try as much as we can to do that. In terms of the pilot project in New Easterus, as I said, we hoped to finish in 3 years. We are in year 6 now, so it's taken much longer. The plan was to register and issue 2,111 title deeds. Unfortunately, of those, because of the delays, both with service certificates, because the level of services in that area, as well as the delays in the deeds office, we have now received 50 title deeds. We had a meeting with the deeds office on Wednesday to try and unlock some of those issues, because it's been with the deeds office now for at least 6 months. So we are dealing with that. There is a model. We've tried very hard to make sure that the challenges are dealt with as quickly as they come, but some of the challenges, even though some were internal in the city, they've taken us much longer to deal with. So yes, it is a model that we can replicate, but we know now that we've got to make sure that the internal certificates are available, and that's the whole process that Batando spoke to just make sure that everything is available before we appoint. And then 2, to just make sure that we have better relations with the deeds office. Up till now, province has had a good relation with the deeds office, not really ourselves, so we're finding it very important to get that sorted so that we can ensure that we do continue with this model in future. We're hoping that in the next financial year we can also appoint conveyancers to assist us in the city as well to expedite our process. Yes, there has been limited capacity and resources of the city. The department relies mostly on grants. We have very little internal funding, and therefore the money from province, of course, is for specific issues like services and top structures, not necessarily for proclamations. And so we are trying to be as creative as possible, working with NGOs and others to assist us with this. And we, hopefully, even if we're not seeing too much now, in the next year or 2, we should see some further movement. Yes, there's also always the reality that we need to work closer to province, and sometimes when things are going well, we seem to just step back a bit, but I think our experience has shown us that those relations have got to be worked on all the time. I think with MMC we have been much better with that. We have met, I think, quite a few times now to go through these issues and to just make sure that we're working much more closer, and I'm sure that that is bearing fruit as well. I think I've spoken to the verification and the teams we have. In terms of appointed conveyancers, we've only got 1 conveyancer appointed by the city. There's various other groups that are available, that are appointed in terms of the proclamation issues. I'm not sure exactly, but there is a panel in place to deal with that. And most of it, I'm not sure how many province has, but there are a lot of them working in the city as well. Province can talk about that. Yeah, in terms of the title deeds issues and the non-qualifiers, as we've said, we're using province's regularization policy, but that's only for people before the title deed is registered. As I said, there's major issues around title deeds. It's a legal document we can't just change, and so we can use the policy for registration issues, but we can't use them after that. Yeah, I think one of the major issues on our legislation, and I'm sure Batandwa will cover that, is just the change in legislation. So previously we could have, for instance, gravel roads and bare minimum of services. Now we cannot get certificates from our service departments if we don't have a certain level of services, which is not available in most of our townships. As we did get a legal view on this as well, and the view that we got was that we cannot, one right cannot be more important than the other. So we need to find a balance between the level of services and the title deed. So people, for instance, in New Easteris, we know we're going to take a long time to get services in that area, but we are denying them title deeds now because of that. So we should be working much closer as a city to find ways that we can to deal with those townships that don't have the level of services that are required by SPLUMA, and that's the point that Batandwa was speaking to. Our business plan and IDPs are between 3 and 5 years, so we have plans for about 3 to 5 years. Of course, some of those change, but there are processes in place to make sure that those changes are motivated fully before they're agreed to, but also that we stick to our plans as clearly as possible. We don't always achieve our targets, but I think we have been trying as much as possible. Because I'm tired of talking, I ask Peter to deal with the Mawiga issues first, and then Batandwa, and I'm sure we'll deal with the others as we go on. Thank you very much. No, I'm fine, thank you. Thanks.
We try and sort of wrap up around about 20 past, another 10 minutes?
Yes.
Fine? Okay, thank you.
Mine will be very quick. Good afternoon, Chairperson and honorable members. Issue of Mawiga. When we talk of Mawiga, we talking of Mabopane, Garangua, and Winterveld. Now, Garangua, we're talking from Garangua Unit 1 to 6. Those are the houses that the Northwest Housing Corporation are classifying them as old stock. So in those houses, the province have made funds available 5 years ago to cancel the charge bonds. It's like they had limited rights on their deed of grant. So with that funding, where the charge bond was owing from 1 rand to 400 rand, the province was funding that, and as a result, they have appointed Sileuho attorneys to do the cancellation of the charge bonds so that the beneficiaries can have the full ownership of their properties. So that process ran successfully until the minister's office took over the project. So far, we don't have any title deeds that were cancelled through the process of National Department of Human Settlements. So Unit 7, 8, and 9, Garangua, Northwest Housing Corporation are classifying those houses as the new stock, meaning the occupants have acquired financial assistance from financial institutions to purchase those properties. Therefore, the funding that the province offered to Unit 1 and 6 cannot cover those. So the beneficiaries in those areas has to make the payments of those, properties so that they are able to communicate to Northwest Housing Corporation to give them the zero letters, and then they appoint the conveyancers where they have to also fund it and then enable to get the title deeds. So that is an issue that the petitioners of Mawiga have presented to the minister because they want to be treated like the unit 1 up to 6 of Harangua. So in Mabopani A and B, no, before I move to Mabopani, Harangua 1 and 2 is not yet proclaimed, reason being there is portion 237 of Medunsa where George Mukare Hospital and also Medunsa Medical University is situated. That portion is privately owned. And for proclamation to happen, the land in that township should be under the name of one institution. So prior to the transfer of that portion into the name of the city of Tshwane, to enable proclamation to happen, it is difficult for the proclamation to can happen. And the owner of that portion, it's Republic of South Africa. And also there were some talks and emails that were sent to the Department of Health, am I right, Department of Health, to get the clearance certificate paid by the National Department of Health, and so far we have not gotten the correct feedback in terms of how will the transfer unfold into the name of the city of Tshwane. And the same applies to Mabopani A and B. There is a portion that is owned by the Northwest Housing Corporation. As a result, the city is unable to partake in the process of proclamation before that portion is transferred into the name of the city. The same applies to Kudube Unit 2, whereby there is a portion owned by the Northwest Development Company. This Northwest Development Company, I'm told that it was a government institution where they built the houses for government employees to stay in. So that portion, before it can be transferred into the name of the city of Tshwane, the city is unable to do the proclamation. As a result, the beneficiaries in those areas are unable to get the title deeds. So that is the situation there. So in Winterfeld, the title deeds that Honorable Masilela was talking about, that during the then mayor, Solim Simang, there were title deeds, about 15 title deeds that were issued. The same applies to the issue of Harangua Unit 7, 8, and 9. The occupants in Winterfeld, they call it Beirut, and it's Beirut and Lebanon. They acquired the financial assistance from the then Bobutatswana Building Society to purchase those properties. In the process, they stopped paying. And then when BBS was, liquidated, the properties were handed over to Nedbank, which they disputed to say they have not taken any financial help from Nedbank. Why BBS transferred those properties to Nedbank? Now, Nedbank tried to get the outstanding balances that those occupants were owing BBS. Now, when they compare the rates and taxes that were owed in those properties, they realize that the money that is owed there is little compared to what BBS or Nedbank is owing the city of Tshwane. So for them to pursue those clients to pay off that amount, it will be difficult still for them to can transfer those properties into the name of the occupants, because then they had to pay the outstanding balances of rates and taxes that are owed at the city of Tshwane. Then there was an agreement entered between and then MMC Ngonyama to say we're donating these 15 houses to the city of Tshwane. So make sure that you assist us in, cancelling those, amount owed for rates and taxes, so that we are able to transfer those title deeds into the name of the beneficiaries. So that's how the 15 title deeds came about. Also, I had the honorable members asking about the proclamations that were done in the city of Tshwane for the past, 5 years or so, maybe on a yearly basis. And I've just noted some few that I know of for Soshanguve. I know of Soshanguve MM that was proclaimed in 2024. I know of Soshanguve IA portions 206, 210 that was proclaimed in 2022. There is also the portions within Soshanguve South Extension 6 and 7, which is portion 7341, 7340, 210, 209 were proclaimed in 2023. Soshanguve A, where Eric Mlowe is situated, is proclaimed 2024. There are also 5 portions in Soshanguve Extension 6, which is 26070, 26081, 21538. Those are the portions within Soshanguve Extension 6, and also portions 29889, 21848. Those are the portions in Soshanguve Extension 7. All those portions were proclaimed this year, and the Gauteng Department of Human Settlements have handed over the beneficiary list that we gave to them, to the attorneys. I think it's Shopping attorneys who's currently busy doing the registration in those areas. I think I should pause there. Thank you.
So I guess, I'm loud. I only have a minute left because you said you want us to end at 12:20.
Try and wrap up.
It's probably 43 seconds now. When I was presenting, I mentioned that there is a report that my colleagues have prepared, which is going to go to council and ask for exemptions for publicly led housing projects. I've opened the report and I'd like to read just 4 paragraphs for you so that you can, as a house, get a sense of some of the issues that we're facing with the new bylaw, which came into effect in 2016, and then it has an amendment in 2024. So the report, the subsections of the report I'll read, the first part of it speaks directly to Spluma, the national one, and then there's a part that speaks specifically to the municipalities bylaw. I will read it very quickly. So in section 43, subsection 2 of the Spluma Act, it states that conditional approvals of a land development application will lapse if a condition is not met within a period of 5 years from the date of approval. So if you go and you put in an application, 5 years later, that application will lapse if the conditions have not been met. That's what Spluma says. And then section 55 of the same act, Spluma, the national one, section 55 provides flexibility. Section 55 of the act, however, empowers the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Development to exempt certain land development activities from the provisions of Spluma. So that 5 years, and then there's a section 55 which empowers the minister to exempt us. That's Spluma. And then here's our bylaw. Our bylaw, first in the first part of it is 2016 with an amendment in 2024. A part of it that I would like to read is here. Section 3, subsection 15 of our bylaw, it says, the amended bylaw states that all land development applications submitted and pending within the jurisdiction of the city of Tshwane in terms of the national provincial land development legislation, other than the bylaw, must be finalized within 3 years. So the national policy gives us 5 years, but our own bylaw says 3 years. So already, for whatever reason, it seems like we're tying the rope around our necks. At worst, they should just align with the national legislation, not with the 3 years, at worst. At best, give us the exemption. And the only reason I wanted to share that with yourselves is because there was a question that was asked, which I mentioned a lot of townships, 100 plus, but I didn't speak to the detail. I do have the database in front of me now, which does have the detail. It would have been nice if I was able to share it so that you can really appreciate, which you already have. I was going to say so you can appreciate the significance of the challenges that we're facing with proclamations. And I get the sense that we do have a sense of it. But the task is very mammoth. It's a very, very, very big task. And the reason I say this is because, for instance, we have townships that were approved in 1971. The townships were approved in 1971, but if you go on the GIS and you look to see whether the township has water, the answer to that is no. So if a township was approved in 1971 and it doesn't have water today, we can't get the certificates that say this township is compliant, therefore eventually we can be able to register it and issue title deeds because it doesn't have water. So for a township that was approved in 1971, like, how do we, it's difficult to deal with. So in my list here, for instance, I spoke about the Nkangalas. For instance, in Nkangala, we have a township here, which by ownership, it says it's still owned by province. So even if we want to help the process of formalizing these townships, we would have to secure a power of attorney from the province. This specific township I'm speaking to, Nkangala C, it was, the general plan of it was approved in 1983. But if we go and we look at, are the services in place, because these services must be in place in order for the township to be formally, the proclamation process to be formally completed, and the registration at the deeds office can happen so that the process of issuing can take place. Like if I look at this specific township, it does have water. Does it have sanitation? The answer is yes, but it does not have stormwater. We ask here, does it have roads? The answer is yes. Does it have electricity? The answer is maybe. Like for instance, it does not have stormwater. So this township is as old as 1983 without stormwater. And if the requirements are that all of the 4 critical services are in place before a township, the formalization process can be completed. How do we deal with the township that has been existing since 1983? It's very difficult. But this is not the case for all townships. Like for instance, there are townships, here I'm seeing Esterist Extension 3, in our own assessments, the water, okay, the general plan was approved in 1971, water's in place, sanitation's in place, stormwater's in place, roads, electricity, yes. But the transfers, have they been completed? According to our list, it says partially completed. So some townships, even though all the services are in place, but the issuing of certificate of title deeds is not necessarily completed for various reasons that Petal and the colleague has already spoken to.
Can I make a suggestion? Sorry
Yes,
to
please.
interrupt.
Sure.
But we're running out a little bit of time.
Sure.
We have time constraints. There's also constraints in terms by when we must have lunch. So I want to make a suggestion. You're giving a lot of valuable information. But through the chair, maybe what we should ask yourselves is to amend the presentation you gave us and add some of this critical information to your presentation and submit it to the committee support team. Because otherwise, we're going to rush you, and some of this information is valuable that we'd want to be able to read through ourselves as well. So that's the proposal that we'd want to make. And we apologize, but we are running out of serious time. So can we ask that for that to happen? Is that fine?
Sorry, we should be able to do that. What are we today? Sorry. We should be able to do that. We should be able to do that by Friday, if that's all right. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, because I want to stop now with yourselves. You wanted to add something else?
No, the only, yes, we can provide the database, but see, I wanted to ask, and Petal, this is through you, because as I said before, we're still working on it, so we're still building it. So what I would ask is, with what we send, if we can just send to you guys a sample of some of the issues that we're facing, so that you don't have a list and you think it's complete. Sure.
No, that should be fine.
Thank
Super.
you.
Okay. Now, thanks very much to the team from Tshwane. Thank you very much. Let me hand over to the MEC and the department, and then thereafter we'll hand back to the chair of the committee. Thanks, MEC.
Thanks so much. So I think, Chair and members of the committee, just by that demonstration, you can understand the complexity of it. So proclamation is the final in a process of lots of activities. So you can't proclaim until you have a township which is established. I also think that maybe our understanding of the word township may be a bit skewed. So Soshanguve is not a township. There are areas in Soshanguve which are established as townships. So I'll use as an example, I come from Benoni, so there's Benoni Extension 7. That is a proclaimed township. It's not Benoni as a township in our own understanding. But essentially when you proclaim or establish, when you establish a township, it's to be able to say, this extent of land, we want to do X, Y, Z in all of these portions of the land. It's for, we want to do this here, houses, industry, whatever. But to start with the establishment process, you have to also deal with land use rights. So who is the owner of the land? So in what you think is one big extent of land, when you look at it on a map or in paper, you might think that it's one owner of the land. But in that, there are lots of different landowners, some private, some public, and you then have to go through an even longer process of land consolidation, or so different portions or erven of land must be consolidated for you to be able to finalize an establishment application. You even have to get the landowners to give you permission for rezoning, etc. So it's not as simple as submitting to the municipality says yes, then once the municipality says yes, it comes to the province, we gazette and proclaim. It's not. So just for, and you can't almost like exclude or cut out some portions of land to proclaim or establish the township without it. So if you think of the Medunza is a classic example. We can't finalize the establishment of the township because of landowners which are either in dispute or not clear or whatever it is. So until we finalize Medunza, you won't finalize anything else in that township that we want to establish, right? So that's going to be a catalyst to be able to establish the rest of the township and then deal with the registration and then finally the proclamation. What is our biggest, so the municipality is a key role player, and but it's not a human settlements function. And I think that's also where we think it's not, human settlements can't approve diagrams, plans, geotech, they don't do that. In municipalities, it's the role and the function of city planning. And then different municipalities are structured differently. So if you go to City of Joburg, for you to get approvals of certain things, it has to go through JRA, then City Power, Joburg Water, etc., etc. It's not just development planning in the City of Joburg. So it becomes a human settlement issue simply because we are dealing with the title deed, want to hand over title deeds or transfer and register title deeds to homeowners. But to do that, you need city planning who must approve the different reports, the engineering reports, the diagrams, etc., etc., etc. And it goes through a whole lot of divisions in a city, and then some make comments. Those comments force you to go back, the engineers to correct, and then resubmit. So you have a lot of back and forth as well. So the municipality is a key role player. In what we've done as Department of Human Settlements, we've looked at, like they have, all these townships that can be proclaimed and said, what are the outstanding milestones? And that's how, to the member who asked, how do we choose which one we prioritize, is because the outstanding milestones are fewer or easier to achieve in a shorter space of time. So if you look at what the colleague presented for Ekangala, there's water, there's roads, there's electricity, there's no stormwater. Stormwater is the function of the municipality. The municipality must build stormwater in the municipality. And we essentially saying to the municipality, can you relax yourself? Because no one else can put in storm. I can't fund, if we could have done it on behalf of the municipality. We can't do it. So we're saying, you municipality, you don't have a plan, you have not budgeted in the MTF for stormwater there. It's the only milestone that is outstanding for us to be able to establish the township. Relax yourself and relax it with conditions. So relaxate yourself, okay, the township is established without stormwater, on condition that within the next 10 years, you have 10 years to build the stormwater. Then we can finalize the registration of the township, deal with the gazetting of the proclamation, and issue the title deeds. But you've essentially given yourself 10 years to do what you must do. So that's what we've done with the municipalities. And municipalities technically must look at that. They must take it through council because it's Spluma, but also their own bylaws that they must relax and then say yes, and then will say to us, Greg Schneeman is affected, Vuiswa Gentile, all the names, and then we proclaim, we gazette it, and then transfer and register the title deed. So how has the province assisted is the appointment of, for instance, conveyances, the technical teams, the PRTs, the engineers, the town planners, because ordinarily the municipality must do that. But we can do it on behalf of the municipality. That's what we've done. And then that back and forth, somebody in the municipality has got to coordinate it. And the difficulty is different municipalities are structured differently. So if you go, for instance, to Ekurhuleni, they have a property company which has got some title deeds of some property of the municipality, and then the rest are somewhere else. So that coordination, even in a municipality, becomes very difficult for us as a province to navigate. With the province, it's the DDG and her unit. She's the one who does it. Nobody else does it and deals with this. But in the municipality, you could find that a submission is with an engineer, but the Department of Water doesn't know that it has been sitting with them for 6 months, maybe, until we chase it and find it. And so I think that's some of the difficulties. The last is that the cross-border issue doesn't only affect human settlements. It affects everything that you want to do on that land that is from cross-border. So we speak only of Northwestern Mpumalanga, but there's cross-border, okay, I want to call it cross-border, that are as far back as Bobotatswana, traditional land, there's no, I don't know if there's a framework, there isn't a framework. So Others are arguing that it's a constitutional issue. We think that it's not. It's between the premiers of the two provinces to finalize the transfer of what was in Mpumalanga into Gauteng, then into the city. But remember that transfers, even between government entities, takes a very long time. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I had that experience even when I was at DID. Just for National Public Works to vest a property from into the asset register of the province, it just takes extremely long. Now, the cross-border doesn't only affect human settlements, it also affects the ability of the municipality to put services. So a municipality, by PFMA, etc., none of us are allowed to spend money on property we don't own. So the city can't put stormwater in Mawika until it's in the asset register of the municipality. So what could be outstanding could be stormwater for township establishment. And then, so it's a vicious cycle, they are all linked, they are all, and I guess the issue is, where do you start? For me, you start with the land use rights, who owns the land. If we can finalize who owns the land, it then allows you to do everything else. But it's not as easy as that. Private owners, they don't give consent, they don't, and then there's all the other aspects like water use license, NEMA, land development, rural development, etc., etc., etc. So, and we are doing these things retrospectively. Also, what we have said to the municipalities is look at the time when the township was established, what was the prevailing legislation at the time. So he gave you an example of a township that was established in the 70s. The requirement at the time may not have been stormwater or tarred roads. So we have a debate with the municipality about gravel versus tarred roads. So at the time when it was established, you may have just needed graveled roads, and then the township was established. Now you need, so maybe also when the municipality looks at it, look at it from the point of at the time when it was established, what were the conditions? If the conditions were met at the time, you must give yourself 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is, to meet the requirements currently. Because, by the way, the requirements change all the time. So there could be something that happens new. So for instance, it's becoming a requirement almost from all our municipalities to do geotech studies for dolomite, where it was not a necessity on areas that we considered not dolomitic. But now it's becoming a requirement. Even anywhere in Ekurhuleni, they want a dolomitic study. It used to be West Rand, but now, and I'm sure even in Tshwane, we used to deal with it in Centurion and those areas, but now even outside of that, they want a dolomitic study. So the requirements change, they become more complex, but they are necessary. I also think that, and I'm glad it's the official from the municipality who has said that municipalities also don't stick to their own bylaws. So it's them themselves. They said you have three years. If it's not approved, why would you do that to yourself when you don't meet the 3 years? And it's not necessary because the national legislation says 5 years. If you align it, but then you must meet, as the city, you must meet the 5 years that you put on yourself, because you don't put that requirement on anyone else except yourself. So it is extremely complex. I think besides disputes also arise just from, this is my house, I'm the rightful owner of the house, I pass away. I don't say who from my family must get the house. And then my kids fight. In some instances, some family members have said we can't agree, nobody must get the house. And they've even abandoned the houses because they say, no, it was mom's house, she's gone, you don't deserve it, none of us must have it. We do mediate, we try to mediate to get the families to agree who should for the registration of the title deed. But if the families don't agree, they have to go to court to get what is called a letter of authority We do assist with that, and we try to mediate, but outside of there being a clear will that says, this is my, and the estate, this is how it must be handled, those become disputed for the longest period of time, and we aren't able to register those those title deeds in areas that are established and proclaimed. Those would be the dispute. Illegal sales happen between two people. So it sometimes doesn't even go through conveyancing and an end. It's me, I have a title deed, I come to Honorable Mokgethi and I say, no, look, if you give me 300,000, the house is yours, and then it's between us. And then that causes its own problem. It's informal, yes, it's illegal, and of course, to be able to trace it, somebody must be charged. And when we agreed who charges who, when we agreed to sell that, we have had reports of the illegal transfers of title deeds from between officials of the department and the deeds office. We're investigating that to see the veracity of it, and should it be found that indeed there is illegal transfer of title deeds amongst officials, they'll definitely be charged. But the title deed at the deeds office has a signature. For you to transfer, the signatures must match, and so there must be somewhere where the owner or the title deed holder has played a role also in that illegal activity. Thanks.
Thanks, MEC. Chair, can I hand back to you?
Thank you very much, Member Schneemann. Yeah, this problem is bigger than we thought, and MEC, I think you spoke for all the municipalities. I don't know, Ekurhuleni.
I was speaking on their behalf too. Their problem will be the exact same problem.
Exact
same problem. I think
Sure.
the difference with Ekurhuleni is that we had administrative challenges in the city, which we have resolved. It was again to do with signatures, and it's administrative. The deeds office won't accept if it's, so when they change in the city, who is responsible? They must inform the deeds office. Otherwise, we submit registration of title deeds, the deeds office rejects it. So we had a lot of that, but we've resolved it. But the problem will be the same. You have an old township, Tsakani. People have been living there in those houses for 35, 40 years. They don't have water, but they know that this is my house. And we are just saying to the municipality, you are not going, we accept, all of us, even the residents accept they're not going to get water. Relax yourself so that we can issue title deeds, because people have been living in the house for 40 years without water. To them, having water, not having water doesn't change the fact that that's their house. But the problems in Ekurhuleni are exactly the same.
Are you agreeing, MMC? Okay, we left with 15 minutes, and I'm tempted to...
There's 2 MMCs.
Or MMCs, yes.
She's from development.
Okay, I will recognize you. I'm saying I'm tempted to say they must present. I was looking at their presentation, it's not long, considering that other issues are similar to other municipalities. I don't know if your official is here and can be able to do that in the next 10 minutes. And then, so that when we break, at least we know you are not coming back. Is it possible? So I'm going to ask Tshwane to relocate quickly as you relocate people, and then get Ekurhuleni on the other side, because the MEC, I think, summarized the challenge nicely for us. MEC, I'm also tempted to explore the possibility of inviting the deeds office, so that we also have their side. We now have the side of the municipality, the department, but it looks like we're also having challenges with the deeds office. But we will invite, when we invite, if we can be able to do that, will also invite the municipalities as well. But on that day, we'll receive presentation from the deeds office only. Thank you very much. Is your MMCs, is your official ready? Okay, okay. I've started 10 minutes now. On issues that, because you were here, on issues that are similar to the cities, and then you can be able to skip those. But maybe just to give the MMCs an opportunity to introduce themselves and the two officials. And just that quickly. Where's the Robbie mic? Okay, I think I've got the flight. Your mic is off, MMC. We have to have it on record. Can you please fix? But guys, where's the Robbie mic here now? No, you are not offline. No, I'm telling you, I was looking here, I was telling Ulon, Ujeki. It's only 2 people that are watching us. And we only have 1 like. How do you like it? Yeah? We're not offline, we're online.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Honorable Chairperson and the Honorable MEC. My name is Khupelo Holo, I'm the MMC for Human Settlement in the city of Ekurhuleni. I'm with MMC Nomathemba. She's responsible for city planning, but the department is combined. We call it the developmental planning and real estate. So she's responsible for that department. We have brought our colleagues, HOD of Human Settlement, Dr. Stephen Gobeni, and Ms. Mpho Makhalemele from city planning. They are going to take us through the presentation. Thank you very much. Over to you, HOD.
Yeah, the MMC would have done justice on my behalf and introduce myself. I will give over to the team through you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, MEC and members of the Portfolio Committee, as well as the MMCs and colleagues that are present here today. I understood the brief very well, 10 minutes or less, so I will move with lightning speed, Chair. I must first and foremost confirm that the issues that were spoken about by other cities, we do share similarities, and we do take cue also from the briefing that the MEC just shared with the committee today. In Ekurhuleni, we have a backlog of approximately 40,000 stands that still need to be proclaimed. And these proclamations will lead to the issuance of the title deeds. We had decided for the purposes of this presentation to focus on about 11 townships that are within our radar at the moment with the province, because those were the recent challenges that we were facing. But before I do that, I need to indicate that the city plays a particular role in the land development and the township application process right up to the issuance of the title deed. And indeed, I think the MEC would have done justice to indicate that there are various departments inside the city that get to be involved in the process of securing these approvals. But in a nutshell, the city is responsible for receiving the applications from the planners or the professionals that would represent the applicant, in this instance, the province in the 11 townships that we were talking about, from their town planners, process those applications and eventually secure an approval after some rigorous facilitation with all the involved department. Most of the challenges that we have been facing insofar as this process is concerned is that there will be late comments coming from sister departments and other government entities, including provincial entities, insofar as those applications are concerned. And sometimes the extended public participation processes, the objection periods will also add to this process, leading to slow approvals of the general plans and the engineering inputs, which makes the entire process slow. When it is supposed to take anything between 12 and 24 months, it ends up taking a bit longer than that. These 11 townships that we were seized with, Chair, most of them were done in terms of the old dispensation, the Town Planning and the Townships Ordinance, Act 15 of 1986, which has since been replaced with Spluma. And they were also done in terms of the Less Formal Township Establishment Act 113 of 1991, the lefty. About 2 of those townships at least are affected by the lefty, and 9 of the townships are affected by the ordinance. I'm mentioning these 2 pieces of legislation because ordinarily there will be conditions of establishment that accompany these applications. And it is in these conditions of establishment that you will find conditions like a township may not be proclaimed until a road is widened, until a road is tarred, until services and this and that are put in place. And if you don't find such conditions in the conditions of establishment, you will at least find them in the service agreement that would have been entered into between the city as well as the applicant. These are important things for me to mention before you because they are the gist of the delays that we are talking about. When we are talking about amending or relaxation of conditions, effectively we are referring to these 2 primary documents. It then becomes very important for the PRTs of the applicant to apply for each and every one of them so that each and every one of them may be considered on their merit, and then we can be able to take a decision. To this extent, we have received out of 11 townships that we are speaking about today, about 6 of the applications, which support of this certification would have been issued years ago, but they must have been lost somewhere in the system. So it's an administrative glitch that the MEC spoke about earlier on that we are now beginning to find each other. And there is about another 5 of them that the applications were not necessarily submitted. We're still waiting for the PRTs to submit those so that a consideration can be applied as to whether the conditions of establishment should be relaxed or not. And I must say that the MEC did write to the city a general or a generic letter
or what that can explain, because I even have a recording of that attorney that was trying to explain on TV to say this is how you go about if you have such a challenge. And it really is a problem, because as the MEC says, some houses they end up being abandoned. Then they are being vandalized by the community simply because the family does not agree. An issue of a title deed, Member Schneeman, or is it Member Shirota yesterday, who said when you have your own title deed, it opens a lot of things that you can do for just owning a property and a land. So for me, if maybe before the end of the term, MEC, we can have maybe some kind of a target to say how many people have we reached and how many of those problems are being resolved. And I think we've come to the end of the meeting. Let me take the opportunity to thank the honorable members and our support staff, and to thank the two MMCs from Ekurhuleni for really making time to come and hear what the challenges that we are facing as a committee, playing oversight to the department and calling the department, and then the department telling us that no, the municipalities are not proclaiming. We have issues of spluma and the MEC also made mention that there's 2 municipalities that responded positively in terms of relaxation of some conditions. And Doctor has just said they did receive, but they had some issues that needed to be ironed out. And we really hope that MMC, those issues can be ironed out. And we are really looking into making sure that before the end of the term, we're able to look back and say we had 40,000, for an example, houses that needed to be proclaimed or what? Transferred. But at the end of the term, we are having something like 10,000 or so. So it's bad. For us, it will really make a impact, because we really want to see changing people's lives, giving people the dignity that they deserve. So we hope that that will happen. I don't know who I didn't thank. MEC, thank you very much. You are always within us. If they say there's an MMC Wabantu and who's always here, is MEC Motara. And it makes our life very easy, MEC, because we don't defer issues, we resolve issues there and there. Thank you very much. And then the date of the next meeting, Jackie?
Thank you, Chair. The date of the next meeting is the 12th of November 2025 at 5 o'clock. The venue will be confirmed. And the following day, on the 13th of November, where at 10 o'clock, we will be getting a presentation from the department and GPF on the annual report. Thank you, but I will confirm the venue by today. Thank you.
But Jackie will officially, it's for our own records, MEC, Jackie will officially communicate. I think it's for the annual report, as we'll be tabling the annual report and taking the annual report to the people. We will properly communicate. Having said that, thank you very much. The meeting is officially adjourned and closed, because we started yesterday. Thank you very much. There's lunch ready, Member Duplessis, honorable members, MMCs. Where's the MMCs? We are inviting you for lunch. Ne? It's downstairs. Thank you very much.